We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Today is the Churchill County Commission meeting. It's August 3rd. It's 8:15 a.m. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was cool for me to do that. I'll do it afterwards.
We will have our first public comment. If anybody has any comment to make that's of items that are not on the agenda. Seeing none. I really like your hat. I like that hat. And we have another one coming in the door. Okay. Verification and posting of the agenda.
Pam Moore, for the record, the agenda was posted on July 20, put on the land in place of a derogatory name.
So Squaw Peak is no longer Squaw Peak down by Schurz?
That's right. And so on the back of the sheet that you have, it lists all the replacement names. And some people have voiced concern or kind of, especially with regard to the what we would call meaningless names, the names that were replaced automatically. They don't really have an affiliation, but it was a way to get the derogatory names off the land. And people are still able to contact our board at the state level and say, we really don't like Cottonwood Peak. It doesn't make sense, so we want to name it something else. And we can do that at the state level and send it up that way. But it was a way for the federal government to get rid of the derogatory names instantly, and they did. 3405 is coming down the pike and should be at least visible with another list of derogatory names nationwide that might come out in the fall. I do not know what names are going to be on that list. So I can't know if any are going to be in your county or even in our whole state. We don't know. But what that list is working towards is the rest of the derogatory names. And I'm not talking about offensive names. I'm talking about derogatory. Derogatory and offensive are two different things. Derogatory is words you don't want your children to say, words that people call each other, ethnically driven, things like that. And we don't know what the list will look like, but at that time we will notify all the counties, especially if you have any of those names in your county. We'll ask for feedback, but we can't know at this time, but I want to let you know it's coming. And then finally, taking it back to what I started with, we are here, we want to hear people's feedback. We know that there's a lot of concern about history and what these names, when they change, what happens. And the answer is we retain all of that history. It's retained at the federal level and also in our own state archives and everything like this. We see a lot of variant names on the land anyway. Over time, how things were mapped across the state, we do have several names per peak, per canyon, per valley, just because that's how maps were made back in the 1800s, and a lot of people had different names for the same place. So we retain all of those names, and when a name is changed, we don't lose that information. It's just that we're responding to the request to not have harmful names on the land. And we are legislatively mandated to do that now as a result of, at the state level, Assembly Bill 88 that was passed in 2021. So we'll be working towards that at the state level, but also kind of under the umbrella of the federal actions as well. So with that, and 7 minutes ticking, I'll see if you have any questions for me and leave it at that.
Chris, we probably have a lot of derogatory names in Churchill County, don't we?
I have not seen that. You didn't have any of the SQ words, and I don't have the final list of what's going to come out. From the guess of what we think is going to happen, there's only 10 in the whole state, and I don't believe that there were any in Churchill County, but I will definitely let you know.
Okay.
Is there any public comment on this item? Board or staff, any questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
And just one last thing I'll leave you with, we do have our website. My email is at the bottom of the sheet here, and our website, if you just Google US or Nevada Board on Geographic Names, it takes you to a very bad website currently, but we will respond and can communicate with anybody that's interested at that website, and it will be revamped in the fall by the university and be much more accessible and clean. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next item is a public hearing, consideration possible action on Bill 2023A, Ordinance 32, an ordinance amending provision of Title 16, Consolidated Development Code of the Churchill County Code.
Mr. Chair, Pam Moore for the record. I just wanted to point out to everybody here that I'm having to put assigned times to speakers. Don't pay attention to the times unless it's under public comment. In order for it to continue to display your name, I have to put a bunch of time with it.
Okay, thanks, Pam. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the ordinance in front of you today is here for its public hearing after having its first hearing 2 weeks ago. This ordinance is an amendment to the Development Code, and its primary function is to split what is currently 2 sections of small vehicles and large vehicle sales and rentals into 3 sections. The 3 sections will now have a new section for specialized vehicles or trailer sales, which is a consolidation between the prior 2 to allow for RVs, motorhomes, campers, moving trucks, dump trailers, and horse trailers to be sold in the C1, C2, and industrial zones with an administrative special use permit. Previously, most of those items were under the commercial or construction vehicle section, large vehicle section, and they were only allowed in the C2 and industrial zones with a special use permit.
Is there any public comment on this ordinance or this change? Any questions for Joe? Or comments, anything? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve Bill 2023-A, Ordinance 32, as presented.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Bill 2023A, Ordinance 32, as presented. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. We will go now to Felon Youth Club. Shannon? I want to, as she's coming up, I want to let you know that I'm on the Youth Club Board of Directors, and as we were discussing the Child Care Center, which you'll probably address, and then we talked about the county responsibility or position on this, I suggested that Shannon come and present to all the members of the board, not just me, and that's why she's here. Please.
Shannon Goodrick, for the record, for the Fallon Youth Club. So thank you guys for having me here again today. The years of support that we have received from this governing body is very much appreciated within our organization. Just a brief history. In 2023, we're celebrating 18 years of serving the youth in our community. It was early 24 when our organization was formed, and the primary goal was to serve the after-school or the school-age population of at-risk youth, primarily looking at economics as being an indicator of the risk by providing low-cost after-school programming. In front of you, you have your the 2022 annual report, and you can see that we serve a great deal of children. We're serving 150 kids in October was our average per day. And to get that as an average, we were at 160 some days. But about 150 was a pretty regular number we were seeing during that time. And that number kind of continued through the year. Financially, we are very sound. That has not always been the case, There was times in 2008 through about 15 when we were beg, borrowing, stealing to stay afloat, and we are now in a very strong financial place. In 2020, January of 2020, Gary Imelli and I were invited to sit on the county's master planning committees that were going on. And specifically, we were involving recreation, youth, childcare. It was kind of all this same topic. What we came away from that meeting with was the fact that Churchill County was really in desperate need of additional childcare. As the pandemic kind of came to an end, and with some of the COVID relief funds that we received, it really shored up our finances. We were able to turn our focus as to how us, the youth club, could begin to assist in the solution of the need for childcare. And with that, we started the process of identifying what it would look like for us to open a childcare center. Where we are currently is we've identified a location at 1035 South Taylor Street, which is going to be the auto malls. They had a taking the child care subsidy, a foster family's having to pay from that $600 a month and plus additional, because that's not even what the child care costs for a month. It all has to come out of their pocket. So we've really run into this situation where at this point we only have 5 licensed child care homes in Churchill County. Our children are being sent out of the area because families can't bring children into their home. There's no place for them to go while the parents work. Right now, I have a child at the club that is placed with the family, and the other child in that family is having to go to Fernley for childcare because there is no place in Fallon for them to go. The name FYC's Little Clubhouse will be the name of our child care center. One of the things that the governor has done that is fantastic is he has said that if a family qualifies for any portion of the federal child care subsidy, that they will receive 100% of the child care subsidy. And that's good, except for there's nowhere in Fallon for them to take it. So they've been given kind of a golden egg, but nowhere to cash it. Within our 150 children that will be at our licensed center, we will have 45 or 1/3 of those seats set aside for subsidized families. In addition to that, we are going to keep 8 seats available as much as we can. We're going to set aside 8 seats for emergency foster care. If you are a foster family and you receive a child in the middle of the night, you have to go to work the next day, and there's no place for the child to go. We're going to do our best to be able to accept those children to get the families on their feet and then moving forward. This again just goes right in line with our mission to serve the at-risk youth. I don't know of a single youth that you could identify as more at risk than one that's been placed in foster care. So in front of you, you have a version of our business plan. All the questions, much information is in there. It's not the complete business plan, but a lot of the information is in there. At this point, we're hoping to be open and serving youth by the beginning of 2024. That's what the contractors are telling us now that the business licenses have been submitted. So as I come here today, I ask that Churchill County would consider supporting this additional activity, business venture that we're in supporting the preschool-aged youth in our community with an additional $5,000 to the $10,000 that you have for many years supported us with. Any questions?
Is there any public comment? Board or staff, any questions?
Not Jim, we have the money in the fund for this.
Actually, I would ask that I get the opportunity to give some background information specifically on this
I
one.
did ask Sherry.
Yeah, so, Jim Barbie for the record. A couple of things. Just for clarity from where you guys are on the money side of things. So you guys budgeted $10,000 in the budget to support this program. Part of that conversation we had during the budget process was recognition that across the board, not unique to this program or any other programs that we're funding, we'll have another one coming up that's asking for additional funding, is that the money that we currently have budgeted in there, we're having to spread across greater activities because we're having so many more activities because of the 3C, creating economic development, that are coming in and asking for more activities. And part of that conversation was trying to spread to promote towards new activities that would be coming forward. So that's where that line was held in terms of the budget levels for the line items that we had. Additionally, when the Fallon Youth Club was created with the new building that they have over there, I'm not sure the exact amount, but the county put in, I think, $750,000 or maybe north of that. I don't know the exact number. It was a significant amount of the construction cost. Obviously, that was a share of the city, and there was a share from the Pennington Foundation with that. In that agreement, there was agreement between the county and the city that the county would take over, or the county would take management of the senior center and would not ask the city for additional funding to support the senior center beyond the tax percentage that was given. And vice versa, the city or the programs going into the Fallon Youth Center would not ask the county for additional funds above and beyond. That was an agreement between the mayor and Pete that was made at that point. Additionally, it's my understanding, and you may be able to confirm or not, that the city is working with the school district and looking at trying to get a 6% tax set aside that would go specifically to support this activity, because they asked for the commissioner's support in that 6% to endorse that, because that would basically move out of the percentage of funds of the tax money for the property tax that the school district gets. They would give 6% of that, or 6 cents of that, sorry, big difference, 6 cents of that to this project and procedure. Again, that would be part of the tax money that we collect through the property tax. So keep that in the back of your mind, because that hasn't come yet, but that was a conversation that the city had with us in our meeting yesterday. And then additionally, I would note that the county, through your leadership, is supporting the CARES program, which provides services for right now roughly around 135, 140 kids weekly, daily, whatever that term is, for the services through the REC program. And you are committing funding to redo those cottage school buildings, and they're almost done with the second redo, and we're going to the third, which we think is going to cost probably $85,000 to $100,000, somewhere in there, that will be coming up in this fiscal year. So just to give you a picture of what you're doing to support those programs, and that CARES program was one of the only programs that stayed open during the pandemic, and specifically took care of folks that were, I hate the term, what was the term they used during the pandemic, the highly needed jobs, or the whatever it was, but basically supported the county, the city, and the school district, and others beyond that in terms of child care through the REC program of CARES. So that's kind of the background. So yes, there is pressure in terms of the funds that are available. They're budgeted at 10. They're asking for additional 5. I think it's important to note that there's additional funding that is being debated and coming to that program, and that, you know, you have to recognize that there was an agreement that we wouldn't be asked for additional funding, and we have been. Thank you.
Shannon, when do you plan to open?
At this point, we're looking at the first part of '24.
Okay, great.
It's about, so permits have been approved, so now we're about a 5-month or so build out. And then once the building is done, the state has to come in, the fire marshal, everybody make sure that it meets everything it's supposed to, and then we will be licensed and can open after that. I would like to just add, as far as that 6 cents coming that's being requested from the school district, it is my understanding that there is a request going to the school district that would release 6 cents of the, I think it's 53 cents that they receive from the tax base, that would then be going to the debt commission to identify where that would be going. There's no guarantee that that will be coming to us. And one more thing is the fact that I was unaware of the fact that we were not to request the organization living within the facility I was never informed that we were not to request any additional funding. If that was an agreement that happened from municipality to municipality, it was not one that we were made aware of.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and that's why they came and requested the city, that because it goes in front of the debt commission, and we have representation on the debt commission, obviously, right? But yes, it was specifically said that that would be targeted for this expansion.
Okay.
So this additional $5,000 would be earmarked for the child care center?
It would be, at this point, 2 weeks ago, we received a little bit of a shift because some of the things that came out of the building plan review required an additional roughly $50,000 worth of some fire breaks that have to be put in. There was a few other things that, in all the regulations that I read myself, that our contractor read, the architect went through, there was a shift within the regulations we were reading, and in the International Building Code, which we didn't read. There was something else we had to do, so.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve funding for the amount of $15,000 for the Fallon Youth Club for fiscal year 2024.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the funding in the amount of $15,000 for the Fallon Youth Club for the fiscal year 2024. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hold on, I need a picture that I can write the check.
Next item on the agenda, letter D, application for continued support of funding for the Churchill Animal Protection Society, CAPS, in the amount of $20,000. Who wants to talk about that one? These folks are going to, okay. Please state your name.
It's a little red one on the bottom.
There you go.
So I'm Julia. I'm the current executive director of CAPS.
I'm Genevieve, and I'm one of the board members for CAPS. I'm here for moral support.
All right, so this is going to be our 2022 report, just some updates on numbers and things that are going on. So for anyone that doesn't know, just a little history of CAPS. We're a nonprofit, no-kill animal shelter located near the Navy base. It was originally founded in 1986. Our primary mission is to take in homeless animals or unwanted animals, cats and dogs, and provide them all the necessary medical care and like spays, neuters, vaccines, all that, and then find them good homes. So to try to reduce people dumping their animals and just find a secure place for them. So how it was originally founded in 1986 was with a group of 12 people that started CAPS. They had this idea to create this organization that helped rescue animals, and they put that into action. And from there, it's just changed over the years from those 12, and now it's completely different than where it started. So like I said, our primary mission is finding ideally permanent homes. Occasionally we'll have returns, but generally it's permanent homes where they stay there for the rest of their life, and reduce unwanted litters, take in pregnant mothers to help get those litters off the streets or just from being rehomed to bad homes. And then also we do occasionally take animals from Fallon Animal Control. And also educating the public whenever we can. So on average, and this number changes every year, but we handle about 150 animals per year between cats and dogs. We deal with animals transferred in from animal control. We deal with owner surrenders. We've even taken from other counties that are really rural areas that can't find homes for them where they're at. And that's generally when we have space. If we don't have space, then we just take from Churchill County only. That's that. And then, so the COVID-19 impact, still adding that in there because we feel like there's definitely still an impact with that. During the heat of COVID, everything shut down. We lost all our volunteers. We lost a lot of donors. People weren't working. They weren't feeling as inclined to donate. And then even still, we're seeing those effects both with donors and volunteers, I feel. Our volunteer numbers are still way down. We have a few regular ones, but we need definitely more volunteers to help things run, help our dogs and cats get exercise. And then the other thing is, that I believe is still happening is we are seeing an increased number of surrenders. Now we're not able to take in all those, but we get calls constantly about people needing to surrender. We have a wait list currently. We just can't keep up with the amount of people needing to surrender animals. And I think that is still in part coming from the effects of COVID. People got animals during COVID. Thought this is a great thing. They're home all the time and they love an animal, and then now they're back to work, busy lives, and they can't care for them. And that's a lot of what we're hearing.
Or they started breeding their animals.
That too. People were breeding their animals, we think. They were not giving them, it was kind of just a fun thing while they were home. They weren't training them. We see a lot of behavioral issues where they're now being surrendered because of that. So there's definitely a lot of impacts from that. We're working back up. I think we've worked our donors back up a little bit, but we're still kind of trying to work everything back up to what it was. So currently we have 20 indoor-outdoor dog kennels at our current shelter. Those get cleaned during the day. The animals go out into their bigger yards outside, get some more space to run around. And then we also have a big play yard where they can go and run around. When we have volunteers, they get walks for the dogs. Cats get time to run around and stuff like that. So the cats, we have 10 floor-to-ceiling condos. They're really nice condos where they have plenty of room to move around and stuff like that. So some statistics from last year. Our adoptions were 163 total, 105 dogs and 58 cats. We generally always have more dog adoptions than cats. So that's about average. As you can see from the previous year in 2021, it was a much higher amount of dogs than cats. This is not what we have so currently right now, we're over capacity. Currently we have 19 adult dogs. We have 6 puppies. So we have 3 puppies to 1 kennel right now in 2 different kennels. So we have a dog in the office. We're totally over capacity. So what we have on hand right now is definitely more than what we should have. But these numbers were from 2022. For the impounds, 148 total, dogs 90, cats 58. As you can see, it actually was down from 2021 a little bit, but like I said, just because the numbers are down doesn't mean there's not a need to surrender. We get calls constantly that we're turning down because we don't have the space. We just can't take them in, and our adoptions are down this year. So I don't know what's going on with that, but it's kind of something that's going on everywhere from what we've heard. So it's really impacted things because we can't take in the dogs that we want to, or cats. Luckily, cats this year have been moving along a little better than the dogs. But yeah. And then in 2022, we did take a total of 20 cats and dogs from Fallon Animal Shelter, Animal Control, to help them out, and we try to help them out as much as possible. Like I said, this year we haven't been able to just because we've been impacted ourselves. We're the no-kill shelter, so a lot of people come to us wanting a no-kill shelter because they feel more secure with it. I mean, we've had people as far as Reno, we get Schurz all the time, like other counties and other areas constantly that are requesting our assistance, and we just can't do it. So as far as our vet bills go and what's that looking like, so in 2022, it was a little bit higher on our vet bills, and I think we had a lot of puppies last year and kittens. We were overloaded entirely. So it was $55,435 for our vet bills between both our cats and our dogs. We had 76 puppies and kittens, and when you consider the amounts of each one to get them spayed or neutered, which is about 200 for each kitten minimum, and then 380 for each puppy by the time you get them spayed and neutered, vaccinated, all that. They take several rounds of vaccines, so the costs really add up fast. So something we did add in 2022 is microchips. That is another service we're offering, so we are now microchipping every single one of our animals before they go out into a home, just to try to help provide an extra level of kind of security if they were to ever get lost. We never hope they do, but once they go into their adopted home, at least they have an extra kind of backup option to find that owner and hopefully get them back reunited and with their family. So that's something that we thought was really important to add. And it gives us a sense of security as well, so. So we are still doing our outreach program with our food pantry. We provide that for low income for the community as much as we can. We've been really lucky to be getting food donations from SPCA in Reno. So we pick up food through them as much as we can to sustain our food, but also the food program and keep that going. And then it's also donations from other people. So in 2022, we did assist 35 different families with this, over 94 pets total. That was 60 dogs and 34 cats, and over 2,100 pounds of food total between all the families. So, and generally we're able to provide food the amount we say we can. There's occasional times where it kind of depends because it'll come in waves. Sometimes several people will come in a week and we just can't provide to everybody, but we do what we can. Generally, we're pretty lucky that we can provide that. I think people are really appreciative, So we still have all our volunteers, like I said, our regular ones at least. Occasionally we do have military groups that come over and help with bigger projects, things like that, maybe some fundraisers. We have had Junior ROTC come over and help us. They've been great. And then, like I said, they help with dog walking primarily, but they do help with other bigger projects, occasionally maintenance or different things around the facility and stuff like that. So in 2022, it was me on our payroll, and then we had 4 kennel associates. We have 2 dog kennel techs, and then we have 2 cat kennel techs, and they kind of just switch days and alternate. We do now, in 2023, have 1 more employee that is just kind of helping temporarily part-time to just add and fill in things, because our kennels with the situation, as some of you may know, are really time-consuming, so things kind of just had to be supplemented with someone else helping out. Wait a minute, it's not going. Nope. There we go. Alrighty, so with that, so for the hours, staffing hours for 2022 compared to 2021, we had a total of 6,256 hours at 77,879 total costs for 2022. It was up a little bit from 2021, but that is in part due to the minimum wage increase and stuff like that. So naturally it would go up a bit, and the hours were slightly higher. So we do have currently 5 board members, 1 being Genevieve, and then Janice is still our president. We do have a couple new ones. Genevieve is a little bit newer, and we have Jolene that's a little bit newer to our board, a new treasurer, Rebecca. So kind of some updates with those. And then benefactors and supporters, we still have a lot of our general ones. We did lose Amazon Smile, which was unfortunate, but we still have Chewy that's supporting us, which is great. Of course, the county, which we really appreciate. Dave and Cheryl Duffield Foundation, we haven't gotten funding for them recently, but they've been huge supporters over the years. And then of course, Facebook, we get fundraisers on there, stuff like that. And there's so many others that have, you know, supported us that we can't even list. I mean, the list goes on. So we have local businesses and organizations that support us all the time, and we're really thankful for that. So fundraisers and donations, a lot of them are the same, but we changed up a few. So we still have our Bark in the Park. We do our like Walmart days, stuff like that. We do have like our wish list where people can just donate. And then our yard sale we're doing now twice a year instead of once. It's been really successful. And we added a paint night. We just did our first paint night, and that was really successful. We've also added in some other little ones along the way, but we're trying to switch up our fundraisers and see what's successful and in what people enjoy the most, I guess. So that's kind of been an interesting thing we're kind of playing around with. She has to change. Sorry. It's still not working, sorry. Sorry. Oh no.
Pressure's on, ladies. There you
There
go.
it goes. Okay, so finally, like another thing we've added on, and this is this year, but just to kind of give you an idea. So we've now added on some seminars and dog training classes. Genevieve is part of Connected Canine, and we're lucky to have her as helping training our dogs and working with us. And so we've partnered with them to offer those not only to people that have adopted from us, but also the public. And so far they've been really enjoying them. They do also do their own separate, but we've had some out at the shelter, and I think it's really important just to be able to offer those resources. Like I said, we have a lot of surrenders just due to behavioral issues with animals and dogs and stuff like that. So to be able to at least offer those classes as an option to hopefully help owners feel a little more secure with training their animals, and maybe give them an option to keep them out of the shelter, that's a good thing to offer. So we're hoping to continue with that. Anything we can do to like help educate the public, we think is really important. We're kind of like slowly trying to improve those things. So, and that is it. Any questions or comments?
Any public comment? Any questions from board or staff?
Mr. Chairman, Jim Barbie for the record. They are currently requesting what is budgeted under the community support funding category for your information. And then I would ask if Chris could come up and give a update on the CAPS building that we're working on that you authorized funding for. I think we have some updated information there. I know we do have the structure currently purchased now. Well, I'll let you get.
Thank you, Mr. Barbie. Chris Frost for the record. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So when this was approved back in 2022, it was surprisingly interesting how many people are not interested in doing design for buildings of this nature. So it took us about 6 months to actually get under contract with somebody that was willing to do the design. We started working with somebody out of Reno, and when his proposal came in, he was looking at wanting close to $270,000 just to do the design, which was well into our budget. And so finally, we have somebody local that has some experience doing this. We're working with Gem Drafting LLC, which is the contract you guys approved last year. So where we are now, once we signed that contract, we spent some time with Julia and her team coming up with a concept of what the building is supposed to look like to make sure that the facility is going to meet the needs that she has now with some potential to grow in the future. So it took us a couple of months to get that pinned down, and we finally got somewhere where we felt that the building was suitable for what they wanted. Gem Drafting started to work on their construction drawings or their design drawings. To date, we've received the architectural drawings, which have been submitted to the building department for a preliminary review. We just want to make sure that there's no glaring issues as a result of the architectural drawings, because when you start doing electrical and plumbing, you use a lot of the walls that are there, and we want to make sure we have that. So that's with the building department right now. By no means has it been submitted for permitting. It's just a cursory review. The remainder of the design drawings are scheduled to be completed at the end of August, so we'll have all of our civil drawings, we'll have our electrical, our mechanical, our plumbing, everything that we actually need to be able to take this out to bid. So it will probably take us a couple of months of review, not only getting back together with Julia and her team, making sure they're happy with how everything looks, but also from a building department review, and typically there's some red lines that need to be done. So we're anticipating a couple of months for that. Once we have those approved, we'll take this out to bid. It'll probably take 6 weeks, 8 weeks by the time we get it out to bid, get people to respond, answer RFIs, things like that. So we're probably looking somewhere around the end of December that we'll have that to bid. And it's anticipated that this building, barring no issues, is maybe going to take 4 to 6 months. So we're hopeful that by maybe the end of June of next year, CAPS will be able to move into their new facility, barring that we don't have any issues. The building itself, the pre-engineered building, is on site. We bought that long ago just because there's an incredible lead time, and we're kind of building this building around the shell that we have, and that's why it took us a little longer to try to come up with the concept, because we already had the building. So that's kind of where we are right now and where we anticipate being at the time they're ready to move in. And with that, if you guys have any questions for me.
Jim Barbie for the record. I would just add that this is a partnership with the city on a 50-50 on getting this facility put together.
Well, you'll have my vote. And the reason is because my son's dog, it's kind of a second home for him because he jumps the fence all the time. So, but anyway. Questions or comments? No? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve continued support funding for the Churchill Animal Protection Society in the amount of $20,000 for fiscal year 2024.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the continued support of funding for the Churchill County Protection Society in the amount of $20,000, Animal Protection Society, in the amount of $20,000 for their FY '24. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you.
Here to help them with the government.
We're always on time.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting and so that we can go to the liquor board.
I move to adjourn this meeting and move to the liquor board.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting and move to the liquor board. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Exactly, I wanted to get rid of it before you killed it.
We've called the liquor board to, oh, you're not ready yet? Ah, come on, Pam. Hello, Sheriff. I got your message yesterday. I'm sorry. All right, we'll call the liquor board to order. Any public comment? Seeing none. The verification and posting of the agenda.
Pam Moore, for the record, the agenda was posted on July 26th between the hours of 8 and 11 at the locations listed on the agenda in accordance with statutes.
Approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as submitted. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. How about the minutes for April 19th?
I move to approve the minutes of April 19th, 2023.
Second?
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of April 19th, 2023. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. We'll go to appointment, consideration, possible action, approval of a change in name for a special events liquor license from Dee Dee Howell and Winey Fain and Nicole Mayer for Troy's Double Shot Bar. Sheriff.
So, thank you. It's Richard Hickox for the sheriff for the record. I'm not sure if a part of the agenda or the applications did not make it to me, but we only received one actual application for this liquor license change, although there were two names on the report. And so we had to call them down this morning and have them both fill out one so that we could run them and still be in compliance with CJIS. So I don't know if that changes what we can do today or not, because there was only one application that was received by us in the process. So I don't know if that changes anything or not, because both names are in the agenda.
What do you think,
Or
Joe?
maybe it just didn't make it to us, and maybe it was filed with you guys. I don't want to.
Can we take action on this?
What's the name on the actual application?
The actual application was Whitney's name, but Nicole's is also in the agenda, but we did not receive an application. So we did call them, and they did come down and fill it out, both of them on the same one, which is not quite technically right either, but we do at least now have an application with both of their names. But I'm not sure how it was presented to you guys, and so I don't want to overstep something.
We can take action as it's agendized, as long as you actually have an application from both.
I do. I just wanted to make sure that was clear before we step forward. So I did the background check as according to county code and NRS, and we found nothing in either of them, their backgrounds that would exclude them or would be of moral turpitude or exclusionary for them getting the license, and so we would support the name change. Both of them have been active and involved in this business prior to this. It was just under someone else's name because they were her and her husband previously had been the founders of that. So we would have no exclusion on that. I just wanted to make sure that it was aware that there was a slight difference from what was agendized to what we had received.
All right, any questions for the sheriff or for Joe? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the change in name for the special event liquor license for Troy's Double Shot Bar from D.D. Howell to Whitney Fain and Nicole Mayer.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the change in name for special events liquor license for Troy's Double Shut Bar from D.D. Howell to Whitney Fain and Nicole Mayer. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Would you take a public
And it's
comment?
adjourned. The meeting's adjourned.
Would you take a public comment at the end?
Any public comment? The meeting's adjourned. Is that okay? All right. Okay, we'll move on now, and we'll open up the meeting again. Okay, this is appointment E. Consideration possible action, approval of performance agreement between Fernley Business Park LLC and Churchill County that outlines a one-year period to complete the access road improvements at 11,000 Reno Highway. Chris?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Chris Spross for the record. So this item will look similar to some that you have seen in the past. So what this is an approval for a performance agreement for Fernley Business Park to complete the road improvements for the access road at the 11,000 Reno Highway. So the code allows for a developer, when it comes to recording a parcel map, a developer has two options. Option one is to actually construct the improvement plans per the design and then move forward and record the map. The second option is to provide a financial security in the form of a bond, a certificate of deposit, some financial instrument in the amount of 110% of the value of the improvement cost. The county requires that those costs are either provided by a licensed engineer or a contractor that will be doing that work. So in this case, Fernley Business Park LLC has requested to provide the financial security. As part of that process, we put together what we call a performance agreement. The performance agreement verbiage or narrative is approved by the Deputy District Attorney, and then the duration of that performance agreement is actually approved by this board. So the performance agreement, which is in your packet, has a duration of 12 months. And it is for the construction of a county standard road on this parcel. What makes this situation unique, and if you look at the map up on the board, the entrance for this access road is actually located in the city of Fernley. We approached the city of Fernley. They had no comment on whether or not they wanted that road done, and we do not have jurisdiction over that portion of the road. So the performance agreement and the bond is only for the yellow section that you see on the map, which is the section that is within Churchill County. Now, I have spoken to the applicant, and it is the applicant's intent that within the next 2 years, they are going to completely reconstruct that road right from US 50 all the way down into their parcel map there. By doing this, this will allow them the option to tie in the road that they plan on building within the next 2 years to the section that they're building now. So what we are looking for today is approval of the performance agreement duration for a period of 1 year. That performance agreement will then be used to secure the financial instrument or the bond. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, is there any public comment? Any questions from board or staff? Apparently, no questions, Chris.
All right.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the one-year completion period as outlined in the performance agreement for Fernley Business Park LLC to complete the construction of the access road improvements for the merger and re-subdivision map located at 11000 Reno Highway.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the one-year completion period as outlined in the performance agreement for the Fernley Business Park LLC. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Appointment F, consideration possible action, request for funding to support the Fallon Junior Rodeo in the amount of $3,000.
Good morning, I'm Jennifer Peak. I'm the secretary of the Fallon Junior Rodeo.
Hi, I'm Katie Bogdanowitz, and I'm the Fallon Junior Rodeo Queen.
This is Quentin Peak. This is my youngest, and he'll be competing in the Pee-wees. This is our second year as the Fallon Junior Rodeo, apart from the Lions Club. Last year was our biggest numbers. We had 239 kids and 600 entries. We're getting calls from Washington, Idaho, Arizona, California. We have a lot of out-of-state entries that are going to be coming to Fallon. We've made a name for ourselves as a junior rodeo that they can count on things are right. And we do lots of fun events for the contestants, for the spectators, and it has become one that people want to come to every year. Our costs have gone up significantly, just like everything else. That's why we're asking for a little bit more this year. Our saddles have gone up to $1,800 per saddle. So we've raised our that donation to $1,500 to cover most of the cost of the saddle. So that's where we came up with the $3,000. Any donation, sponsorship is appreciated, but that's what we put on there. McKady would like to say something as well.
Hi, I'm McKady Bogdanowitz. The Fallon Junior Rodeo is the best junior rodeo in all of Nevada. The reason it is so great is because we have an amazing rodeo committee, wonderful volunteers, awesome prizes, and a ton of community support. Thank you for your support of our rodeo. We look forward to many great years ahead. Thank you.
McKatie's done a great job for us this year. She's gone to several events, the Reno Rodeo. She helped with the Special Kids Rodeo. She was here for the Battleborn Bronx and all of the activities there. She's just done a great job for us, so.
Any public comment? Any questions from board or staff?
Mr. Chairman, Jim Barbie for the record again, just on the record related to the budgetary approvals. You guys approved this item for $2,500 and they're currently coming in with a request of $500 above and beyond that. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Jim. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve funding for the Fallon Junior Rodeo in the amount of $3,000.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the funding for the Fallon Junior Rodeo in the amount of $3,000. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Good, it's done. Thank you. I still love your hat.
I bet you they can get you one of those.
You think so?
Especially that shiny thing up top.
I had one of those, but in a Garth Brooks concert, I threw it down on the stage.
Oh. You're right. Merle Haggard, I would have understood.
Okay. I should stand by the short guy instead of the tall.
Thank you very much.
That's why Miles ran for office, so he could be the tall guy.
All right, appointment G. Consideration possible action, ratification of an agreement between Churchill County Social Services and the State of Nevada Department of Health and Human Services Director's Office for the amount of $26,442 for the provision of the Family Resource Center. Shannon.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Shannon Ernst, Churchill County Social Services. So as you know, approximately 12 years ago, Churchill County Social Services received the designation of the Family Resource Center. This is done by the governor's office, and it enables our office to really look at family issues across the community and implement programming to support. We receive around $26,000 each year, and we're required to provide a 10% match. The match is used from office supplies, things that we do expend on, because this is a very small amount. But the funds we will receive will support some staff to do special projects, and plus we contract with juvenile probation to do the family parent project. We found it's very successful with them using this with their children and the families they're working with. So today I'm asking for the ratification so we can continue to expend. Any questions?
Okay. Any public comment? Any questions from board or staff? No questions, Shannon. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the ratification as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ratification as presented. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous, thank you. You're going to stay here. Okay. Consideration possible action, ratification of an agreement between Churchill County Social Services and the Nevada Clinical Services Incorporated for FY 2024 in the amount of $115,000 for the Healthy Nevada Grant Award.
Again, for the record, Shannon Ernst, Churchill County Social Services. So we received this funding in 2019 previously, and it helped support the creation of our outreach with the resource liaisons. This goes on a 2-year cycle, and I will be honest, and somehow during 2020, 2021, I missed the announcement, and we did not receive the funding for that 2-year cycle, and this did come back forward. So I'm asking that we ratify to move forward to receive these funds, not only to support that outreach program, but this time we did include to do one-on-one counseling sessions for individuals that are dealing with grief and loss that do not have another pay source, and for a full-time transportation specialist. This was presented during our budget hearings in hopes that we would receive this funding. Really, that transportation specialist will provide that extra support at the Life Center to go out and provide meals for a 7-day period that are outside of our service area that do need healthy, nutritious meals each day. So they would do that route one time per week. They would support when we have a gap in Meals on Wheels drivers, and then also help fill a gap with transportation. We have individuals that cannot get transportation to meet their diabetes treatment needs, things of that sort. And so we want to be able to have this available. The van was approved in the fiscal 2024 budget for social services. And so once everything is executed, we will continue to look for a van that meets the amount that was approved. If there's any questions, I can answer. I think I'll just note this is a 2-year, so this is the first year. If we are successful in year 1, it's an automatic renewal for the same amount for year 2.
Any public comment? Any questions from board or staff? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to ratify the agreement as presented.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to ratify the agreement as presented. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. We will go to item I. Consideration possible action, approval of a biennial agreement between Churchill County and the State of Nevada Division of Child and Family Services for the total amount of $790,094 for the provision of child abuse and neglect investigations. Shannon?
Again, for the record, Shannon Ertz, Churchill County Social Services. As required by statute, we have these unfunded mandates. Previously, we still have the Medicaid match requirement. We have removed the clinical services for community health nursing because that has gone to Central Nevada Health District. Environmental health has gone to Central Nevada Health District. And then we have this one for child protective services. It is required that all counties conduct investigations for reports received for youth under 18 that may be abused or neglected. Populations under 100,000 do pay the state for this service. This is based not on the number of reports, this is based on the per capita youth in our community. So it doesn't matter if we only have 54 investigations, we still pay the same amount. I will note, 4 years ago, we started talking about the increased cost for them to do the reporting system, which is now a call center. We had them go back and complete an audit on that, and it was found that 100% of those were not based off of investigation. They were other things. There was for sexual assault, those which do not come back to this requirement. So we did receive a reimbursement, which I presented to you a few months ago. As the legislative budget was approved, the total amount for fiscal year 24 is $389,575, and fiscal year 25 is $400,519. This is a reduction. Previously, it was noted at $475,000 and $489. So we have seen a cost shift based on that investigative reporting system. Each year, this past year, we had 478 calls, 54 were fully investigated, and 6 were substantiated. So if there's any questions, I can answer for you.
Any public comment? Any questions from board or staff? I have a question. Is that all their investigations done by phone?
No, they are required to respond in person within 72 hours. If it needs to go sooner, they do have law enforcement if they cannot respond in that time frame. They are not by the calls, the initial reports, and then they do a follow-up, and then to do the full investigation, they do have to come out.
That's good.
It is a requirement by
That's
statute,
kind
and
of
we
a
have.
change in what they were doing before, wasn't it?
No, it's pretty much the same, but I think there's been more progress to meet that. Many are questioning it. There's been great communications with CPS and talking about the fact that they do need to come out, or law enforcement needs to go. They can't just sit.
Good.
We will continue to monitor.
Well, and it's worth the $790,000. If it was just by phone, I was gonna say it's not worth it.
No, if you look at the statutory requirement and federal laws of this, if it goes through that call process and it's found that it needs a full investigation, like the 478 calls basically is our callback, but then it was found that those other 54, they actually had to come out and investigate.
Okay.
And we are still the regional location for CPS for the state of Nevada for 5 counties. Which is
Any other
located.
questions for Shannon? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agreement as presented and to authorize the chair to execute the same.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agreement as presented and to authorize the chair to execute the same. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous, thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Consideration possible action, approval of changes to job descriptions for the transportation specialist and for transportation and food specialist positions. Geoff?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Geoff Stark, Human Resources Director for Churchill County. And as Shannon was just talking about, we do have a full-time position now that's been approved to do as a transportation specialist. There are some additional duties that are wrapped into that because they will now be not just transporting food, which we kind of call them Meals on Wheels drivers informally, but they'll also be transporting people to appointments in various areas within the community. To be able to do that, we felt the best way to handle that would be to change our current job descriptions, which we have for a transportation specialist, and then one position as a transportation and food specialist. And so we've made some modifications to those job descriptions to talk about transporting people. We think that also gives us a lot more flexibility as far as being able to have everyone who is in those positions be able to move around and transport whatever they need to do, people, food, or whatever it may be. There is no proposed increase in the pay or anything. There's no changes there. It's just a modification to the duties that they'll be doing. With that, I would take any questions you might have.
So so it's different from Meals on Wheels that they might be transporting people.
Yeah, and so most of the drivers will still be doing the Meals on Wheels portion. The idea is specifically one driver would be doing this full-time position, but this would give us the flexibility to have those people do additional duties beyond just the Meals on Wheels if we needed them to. If someone called in sick, if someone was not available, we could have them shift over and do those same duties.
Any public comment? Any other questions from board or staff? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the modified job description for the transportation specialist and for transportation and food specialist positions as needed.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the modified job descriptions for the transportation specialist and for the transportation and food specialist positions as presented. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous. Thanks, Geoff.
Thank you.
Letters received. Is anybody want to pull any of these letters out? Hearing none. We have no old business. We'll go straight to new business. But I need to move down on the agenda here. New business A. Consideration possible action, reappointment of Brenda Ingram as Churchill County's representative on the Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Coordinating Council.
Mr. Chairman, Jim Barbie for the record. Pursuant to the enactment of Assembly Bill 80 in 2019, the Department of Sentencing Policy was created to assist the Nevada Sentencing Commission in developing policy recommendations concerning sentencing and corrections, as well as assessing the outcomes resulting from Assembly Bill 236, which enacted in 2019 created Local Justice Reinvestment Coordinating Council. Brenda Ingram has served, I believe, the past 3 years on this commission board representing Churchill County, and we would bring her name forward to be reappointed to serve in that same capacity. Thank you.
Any public comment? Any questions for Jim from our board or staff? I'll entertain a motion.
I move to reappoint Brenda Ingram to Churchill County as representative on the Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to reappoint Brenda Ingram as Churchill County's representative on the Nevada Local Justice Reinvestment Council. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Unanimous again. As it usually is. We'll go now to new business B. Consideration possible action, advanced step appointment of Mark Burton as a fleet services mechanic for Churchill County with an annual impact of approximately $8,300. Joff.
Good morning. Again, for the record, Josh Stark, Human Resources Director, here this morning to discuss the appointment of Mark Burton to the position of Fleet Services Mechanic. This is a new position that was approved for the Road Department to handle fleet services within the county. We did advertise this position, and we had some interviews with some candidates, but Mr. Burton stood out well above the other candidates. And based on his background and his experience, we are asking to be able to hire him at the 5th step of the range, and that needs to be approved by the board. He has quite a few years of experience. As some of you may know, he currently is actually at the fire department. So he's worked with some large vehicles. He's also worked with regular fleet vehicles. He's worked on heavy equipment, so that might be an ability to use his skills and abilities in other areas as needed as well. And so with that, we would come before you and ask for your approval to hire him at that 5th step of the range. As indicated in there, the impact this year really will only be about $500. This position was slated to be hired on July 10th. It won't be filled until August 14th. So there's been a month and a half or about a month of no salary or benefits paid. But the annual cost is about $8,300 a year between that 1st step and the 5th step. So with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any public comment? Any questions from board or staff? Then I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the hiring of Mark Burton to the position of Fleet Service Mechanic at the advanced step placement of grade 54, step 5.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hiring of Mark Burton to the position of Fleet Services Mechanic at an advanced step placement of grade 54, step 5. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joff. Consent agenda, is there anything that anybody wants to take out of consent agenda? Hearing none. I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda items.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Consideration of future agenda items. Hearing none, Commissioner and Management Staff reports. I'll start. I attended the flood management meeting a couple of weeks ago and voiced my opinions on some things. I haven't attended one since.